Well, good morning.
Good morning.
So Marty was taking a jog in the park. He was on this kind of, wooded path. He was going, and the birds were singing, and the leaves were rustling, and suddenly he realized everything went quiet. The birds weren't singing, the leaves weren't rustling, the entire forest had this eerie silence, and he looked back, and there on the path, he saw a bear coming at him. So he busted into a run. He ran as fast as he could. He ran, he looked back, the bear was only getting closer, and he realized you can't outrun a bear. And so finally, in his last desperate act, he stopped running, fell to his knees, and said, God, I know we don't really know each other. I'm a Unitarian Universalist. But if you ever wanted to see the most dramatic conversion, you could give me a sign right now and make this bear a Christian. And he waited, and nothing happened. And then the ground shook, and he looked back, and this giant bear had fallen to its knees, and it extended its massive paws in the shape of a cross, put them together, and said, I thank you, Lord, for this meal that I am about to receive. Well, good morning. There is in Alaska, there are Native American tribes who have this tradition that when people gather to do a religious service, like a ceremony, that you cannot start it until everyone in the room has laughed. And so these Inuit people, they gather together, and they need to do their thing, their prayers, dances to like steady the cycles of nature, and it's really important. And like all of the natural processes of the world depend on these dances, these prayers being done in like a really deep and meaningful way. But before they start, the comedians jump up. And they just say all of this like silly and irreverent and dirty and funny stuff, no matter what. Anything goes. But that's the rule. And that's actually part of the reason that I like to tell a joke when I'm starting a service, is because I believe that there's something about it that kind of cleanses the air, and that kind of, sort of electrifies some of that dust and some of that negativity out of the air. It kind of gets us ready to do something meaningful. Also, I do like making people laugh. So, that's part of my thing. But it does. It has a ritualistic function as well. Welcome to this place, which we make holy by our presence. These doors are open to all. Bring your brokenness and bring your power. Bring your fatigue, your early morning aches, and your energy. Come into this place where the ordinary is sanctified, where the human is celebrated, where compassion is strength. Welcome to this place. Together, we make it a holy place. Now, please join me for the words of the chalice lighting, which are printed in your leaflet. May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, Spirit of freedom. And please stand if you're able for hymn 361, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In.
Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your hearts to the song.
Our responsive reading will be number 490 in the back of the hymnal, number 490. This is a poem by Mary Oliver. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscape, over the prairies and deep trees, the mountains and rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Wherever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. Peter, would you like to lead us in honoring joys and sorrows?
I will remind you that we take a moment out of every service to formally exchange personal highs and personal lows that we may have experienced during the week or at some time recently, or we expect to have come upon us, and that we choose to share with the other people here. That's really important for us to have that opportunity and to do it. For some reason, particularly sorrows seem to be spared to some extent or reduced in their impact on you when it's shared. And so I'm going to invite you to take a few moments to contemplate whether there's a joy, or a sorrow that you'd like to share with the rest of the community this morning.
Thank you, Peter. Yeah, I have a couple of sorrows. The first one was a sorrow, and the other one's a sorrow and concern together, and the third one's a joy. So I'll start with this. The sorrow is and well, I probably should say concern too, is that wildfires out in California, out near Los Angeles. So I just want to, bring up prayer and thoughts and prayer requests for that. And in Los Angeles, I have an aunt. She hasn't been in contact with the family in years because my mother's side, unfortunately, they feud. So, far as I know, I got on Facebook this week and I found her kids, actually two of her kids. I'm not sure what's going on with the oldest, Yvonne, because her Facebook stopped posting back in 2010. So I'm fearing maybe she passed away. I don't know. And their father, Sam, passed away right around 2010. So that leaves two kids and my aunt. I don't know what's going on with her, but they live out near where those fires are. So my concerns with them. And the joy I have is, Ben doesn't mind. I'm introducing my friend Ben Phillips that walked in with me this morning. His name's Ben. He's a retired nurse, right? The VA? Is that what I say about you? Yeah. Yeah, we've been friends for many years. Ben was here a long time ago when Mike Bailey passed away. We did a memorial service. So if anyone think you recognize Ben, that's probably why.
Actually, I have something very frivolous to share. I think it's the little things that people may say or do that either make your day or destroy it. And this last week, I was cleaning out my library craft room, and I found a needlepoint that I started probably over 40 years ago that was almost finished. And so I decided I was going to finish it. And I had to take my car in to have it inspected. So I took the needlepoint along with me, thinking I'll sit in the waiting room and work on the needlepoint. And I'm in the waiting room, and I'm working on the needlepoint, and this man comes up to me and says, "That's beautiful. How long did it take you to do that?" And I said, "Oh, it's only been about 40 years."
Sometimes the truth is more unbelievable than fiction.
I'd like to celebrate this light that's flowing through these great Christopher Wren-style windows today. This is very unusual in this area. This is light coming through, and Wren designed a lot of his churches in England to expose this kind of structure to worshipers on Sunday mornings in England. But I'd like to say that all these banners we have, I always admire them because they're meant to be mutually inclusive, not exclusive of each other. And that's an important point of who we are as a group and a people. And we come here to not to agree or disagree, but to seek kindred souls.
I have one just about the power of letting things go to the universe. And sometimes that positive energy is out there and meets you. I've been taking a yoga class on Mondays, and the teacher's leaving the area. And I put it out to the universe, and I put it in Google, yoga, North Tonawanda, where I live, and a name came up like in October, and a woman, her name is Erin at Rooted Yoga, said, long story short, she's willing to come to my apartment and teach a yoga class with another woman in my building for a sliding fee scale, which I think that is really cool, you know, in this day and age. Thanks.
Good morning. My oldest friend lost her father 3 years ago this month, and she's still grieving. And she just got the news that her mother, who lives with her in an in-law apartment in her dream home with her wife, that her mother has been diagnosed with bone cancer. And of course, that means that it's extremely unlikely that she's going to live much longer, no matter what treatment they do. She's around 87, 88 years old, I think. And so beyond what's going to happen to her mother herself, there's also the issue of whether this will destroy my friend, since she's still not even over her father. So I just wanted to take that sorrow out, and those who believe in prayer or that projecting thoughts help, please do so if you'd like.
I have a joy, and that's to see Erica back with us. And Erica, also, I want to express how much admiration I have for you for keeping up our structure and helping us move through the month, even though you were so far away. And we really appreciate it. We know it was not just a relaxing vacation for you over there. And I want to also send best wishes to your daughter. This is all very difficult, and my heart, and I'm sure our hearts are with her. You're getting at least 2 candles. I want you to.
Thank you very much. It was a very long time in Greece, but I did want to mention our neighbor, Eleni. She came down the first day I was there, brought us food. She also brought us special food for the funeral. In Greece, you need this special grain and oil and vinegar. The first day she brought us that. She also remembered us from 30 years ago. They lived in the same house. They bought these houses. She remembers Alexandra when she was a baby. And she says, I remember when I came there 30 years ago. But she brought food down every single day. Delicious food, homemade food. She couldn't go very far because her husband was sick. He had dementia. She was a nurse for 30 years, so she was only caregiver. I asked her if she needed help. She said no. But Eleni would come every day. Sometimes she didn't speak English. I didn't speak Greek, but I knew when she said come. She says, Erica, let's go. I said, okay. I'd follow her. Sometimes she had a bag, so I brought my bag, went to the market. Sometimes we went to a coffee shop. One time she just said, get in the car. I said, okay. I got in the car. We went to her village. She wanted to show me around her village. But we spent New Year's with her. Alexandra calling her grandmother. So Eleni messaged us yesterday, and her husband Pavlo passed away. So I said, I'll light her a candle, because in the Greek Orthodox Church, you light the candles, but I'm also going to want light for Eleni, grandma.
for so few people, we have got a bonfire going on over there, haven't we? Is there anyone else that has something they'd like to share with us this morning? If not, I'll light a final candle, if there's room over there. That last candle that I lit is for any unspoken joys or sorrows that any of us have. And now it's time for us to take up an offering for the benefit of the church. This is our source of income, and we appreciate anything that can be contributed.
Every summer, I take the kids camping at Allegheny State Park. No, that's not true. At least not how anyone would envision it. Okay. Every summer, I go camping with my brothers and friends, and I spend a week at Allegheny State Park playing cornhole and euchre and howling along with classic rock songs. But instead of just disappearing, I say, hey, Elizabeth, how about I take the kids camping? And that way, I come home and I'm still married, because she would need our children's help to drag my record collection to the curb. I was kidding about that. She could totally do it herself. And also, she's come there with me before. We tried that. And now she's just so tremendously relieved every summer that I don't make her go again. So that's what I mean when I say I take the kids camping. I play card games and they conduct field studies of middle-aged wildlife. All right. So a couple of summers ago, we were playing by the cabin when a black bear appeared at the edge of the forest, about 30 feet away from us. Now, they come silent. The underbrush and fallen leaves are too frightened to crackle as this 600-pound animal lumbers by. She wore a single earring, whatever that means, and was followed by 2 cubs. And as soon as we saw them, we grabbed the kids and ducked into the cabin. Then we watched helpless from the doorway as this big mother bear browsed through our stuff, unimpressed, with her flat face and emotionless eyes. In my imagination, bears are like big dogs with expressive eyebrows, but apparently most bears aren't like that, which makes me wonder if human-like facial expressions are something we've selectively bred into dogs, by which I mean it makes me wonder if dogs learned to mimic human whimper faces as a means of training people to slip more sympathetic scraps under the table. And that makes me wonder if dogs invented the table so they could get scraps from one person while hiding from the other and then switch to the other side. I didn't mean to leave that bear story hanging in suspense. I'm just saying it was twice as scary because this bear's face didn't show any sign of caring whether it killed us all or not. So I watched from the doorway like an idiot, shoving my kids back from the door with one hand, holding my Swiss Army knife open in the other, trying to remember which hand was which. But my brother Michael, as he often does with a couple beers in his system, decided to go on the offensive. He grabbed a bag of baby carrots and started chucking them at this lumbering giant. Now, he has pretty good aim. He had been a middle school quarterback, but the carrots had no visible effect. Again, this bear had no big comical eyebrows. He also shouted at it. I don't remember what he said, but he went to Brown University. I think a bear is their mascot, so maybe he knows something I don't know. Having browsed through our supplies, this bear grabbed the marshmallows and a bag of plastic forks and wandered back into the woods, the cubs following. If they're anything like my cubs, they were probably grumbling something like, "But without chocolate and graham crackers, it's not s'mores." Man, when I was a kid, you were happy just to get a marshmallow. Now Hershey has convinced all kids that a marshmallow is just a third of this other thing. Anyway, so the bear took our most precious natural resource, by which I mean marshmallows are a good way of producing child silence, which is our most precious natural resource. Plus, the bag of forks, and I thought about calling after it, like, "Don't cook those marshmallows with a plastic fork. They've got too many chemicals in them already." You'd think a bear, of all creatures, would understand to use a stick. We were all fine. I don't remember whether Michael took credit for fending off some attack, but it's hard to imagine him not doing that. And yet, of course, the bear wasn't trespassing on our property. We had shown up on the bear's land with our classic rock howling and our Bluetooth speakers blaring, not to mention the aggressive primate posturing that accompanies a heated game of euchre. As guests on her property, sharing our marshmallows was the least we could do. Lakota medicine man Black Elk referred to Native American reservations as little islands left by the flood of invading Europeans. And he said, these islands, they keep getting smaller in this flood, and that the animals are stuck on little islands too. Allegheny State Park is one of those places, a reservation where bears can be bears. Did you know in most of New York State, it's illegal to be a bear? Like, if they catch you being a bear in the Dollar General parking lot, they'll shoot you full of drugs, shove you in a van, and take you back to the state park if you're lucky, or else they'll just send you to the big salmon run in the sky. To me, a bear is a pretty scary creature. Although I would rather be eaten by a bear than a lion or a tiger, because I'm allergic to cats. And I'd hate for my final terrified cries to be broken by semi-automatic sneezing. Also, if I were alone in the woods, I would rather run into a bear than a woman I didn't know, because apparently bears have a higher opinion of human males. Also, I would hate to run into a man I didn't know, because a lot of guys rightly deserve women's low opinion. Bears do not want to run into people in the woods. Apparently, when people are away, they are good-natured and playful, jostling each other and retelling the same old joke about what the Pope does in the woods. Anything he wants. Thanks, Larry, but we've all heard it 1,000 times. Can I hibernate next to somebody else? In a Native American creation story of the Midwestern Crow tribe, the Creator made the world and filled it with ducks. All kinds of ducks. And when the ducks got bored, he created people to entertain the ducks. But the people mostly just milled around and mumbled amongst themselves. So the ducks were still bored, so the Creator made bison, deer, antelopes, and bears. But then the bear started complaining. He said, well, I'm bored. So the Creator thought about this and got an idea. He pulled random, useless bits from different creatures, haphazardly slapped them together, and produced this ridiculous-looking bird, the prairie chicken, whose dance made everybody laugh. Soon, all of the creatures were mimicking the chicken dance and laughing their heads off, except the bear, who grumbled, I don't want to dance like a chicken. I want my own dance. So the Creator created a special bear dance. And the bear did it well. Everyone stopped for a moment to appreciate the bear's lumbering dance. But then they resumed dancing, and the bear roared, stop. Nobody else can dance but me. The Creator said, you don't make the rules here. I made you. And the bear said, no, I made myself. And to silence further debate, the bear made this loud roar and swung his big claws around to prove that he was right. Well, the Creator couldn't uncreate the bear or destroy the bear, but he also couldn't stand this racket. So he created hibernation so that everyone could get a break from this bullying. The ancient Athenians had a tradition that as girls approached their reproductive years, they should go through this wild interval before settling into married life. So every 4 years, the maidens dressed in bear skins and ventured into the woods to romp and roar and go feral like berserker bachelorettes for the divine huntress Artemis, who could take the form of a bear. Artemis also had her own rugby team of forest nymphs, one of whom accidentally caught the eye of Zeus, which is always a bad thing. The nymph Callisto got pregnant, and Zeus's wife Hera got so mad at him that she transformed Callisto into a bear. Because the most dangerous place in nature is between Hera and her pride. And her man, I guess, but really I don't even think she liked him that much. So the son of this nymph grows up and has a run-in with this bear, and he's about to throw his spear when Zeus, to save him from killing his own mother, picks up the bear and throws her into the sky, where she becomes the constellation Ursa Major, the big bear. Except that part of her is the Big Dipper. And I don't know how they come up with these things. I really do just see a bunch of stars surrounded by a bunch of other stars. But multiple cultures agree there is a star bear in the sky. One of the most beloved biblical stories that doesn't get told enough in Sunday school is in the second book of Kings, also known as K2, Curmudgeonment Day. The prophet Elisha, who had been Elijah's Padawan, had just salted the springs of Jericho, and we read, as he was walking along the road, a group of boys from the town began mocking and making fun of him. Go away, Baldy, they chanted. Go away, Baldy. Elisha turned around and looked at them, and he cursed them in the name of the Lord. Then 2 she-bears came out of the woods and mauled 42 of them. Now I know what you're thinking. This is the Bible. Wouldn't a stern look have been enough? And then a curse in the name of the Lord could have been considered overkill. Now, we don't find out the words of the curse. I assume it was something like, someday you hoodlums are going to have to get day jobs or whatnot. But no, bears appear out of the woods. So apparently woods appear. There are no forests in Israel. And then bears appear. This certainly came as a surprise, but I imagine no one was more shocked than the bears themselves, who had not even existed yet up until this point. The miracle is not that God sent bears, but that God created the ursine species just to punish these children. That is, unless we count the line in Genesis where God creates every tree that bears fruit, which, if bear was the noun and fruit was the verb, would put a whole new interpretive spin on why God commanded Adam and Eve not to eat of a certain tree. That's where the bears do their fruiting. It's a gummy bear tree. But that's a highly doubtful reading. Or perhaps when Sarah asked Abraham if she was too old to bear a child, she may have wondered if she could indeed bear a tack, 42 of them. We could go on like this all day, right up until the Lamb of God bears the sins of the world. But it's a fruitless pursuit. In a literal reading of the Bible, bears were brand new, except for a mysterious cameo appearance in the first book of Samuel when someone asks young David if he can really slay Goliath, and he says he, quote, has killed both lions and bears, and this uncircumcised Philistine shall be like one of them. From this, they must have deduced that a bear was some unhygienic species of art critic. But David was one of the Bible's most blatant liars. I don't even believe he was a shepherd, so we can't just take his word for it that bears existed. Anyway, these kids made fun of a prophet, and God miraculously manifested a pair of bears into existence. Not male and female did he create them, but specifically 2 she-bears, which is pretty progressive when you think about it, and they spawned the whole bear species on earth. And never mind for a moment that Elisha probably cried himself to sleep that night, wondering why God hadn't instead, just hear me out, really showed those kids who's the coolest by producing the miracle of blessing the prophet's bare scalp with some long golden hair. The biblical book of Proverbs says it's better to meet a she-bear robbed of her cubs than a fool in his folly. Even scarier than that would be to meet the evil genius who managed to rob the bear of her cubs, because that guy is both wicked and crafty. Compared to that, meeting a fool in his folly is a teddy bear's picnic. I know the word folly is falling from usage. It means throwing carrots at a wild animal 4 times your size. Or maybe folly just means Miller High Life. I like to have fun with the Bible. I have a whole master's degree in making Bible jokes. But while researching about bears in the Bible, I came across this quote, which, in my opinion, is even better than Revelation. It's actually relevant. In Isaiah 59, we read, "We growl like hungry bears. We moan like mournful doves. We look for justice. Our courts oppose the righteous, and justice is nowhere to be found. Truth stumbles in the streets, and honesty has been outlawed." I worry about that bear, the one we saw at Allegheny State Park. She went down to hibernate in early winter and won't get up till spring. And the way things are changing in politics, the constant catastrophizing, plus some actual catastrophes, I wonder, will there still be an Allegheny State Park this March? Will there still be a United States? Will there still be an inhabitable world? What kind of mess will this Allegheny den mother awaken into? But then I have to remind myself, bears don't actually sleep through the entire winter. They sleep and wake like the rest of us. They just manage to slow their metabolism so that they won't have to eat or drink or leave the cave to go potty, which is important since they wouldn't want to surprise the Pope in the woods. Bears hibernate, but really, they meditate through the winter. And since they don't have past regrets or future fears, I guess they must be well on their way to Buddhist nirvana by spring. That bear we saw, she's not sitting around worrying about an existential crisis for democracy. She'll get up this spring and do what bears did in the Obama years and the Reagan years. What bears did in the Roosevelt years. Not the Roosevelt that hunted bears and had stuffed animals named after her. I mean the other Roosevelt. She'll do what she did before some nut planted the tree that got cut down to make George Washington's dentures. She'll do what bears have done since the last ice age. She'll nurse her cubs and her wounds in winter and meet the spring with a roar. Thank you. Now, please stand if you are able for our next song. Love Will Guide Us.
Disregard what I put up there. I don't know why I put 121 and one. Can't count. Love will guide us, peace has tried us. On the road from greed to giving, love will guide us through the hard nights.
Well, I'm excited to announce that in about a half hour, I will be doing an adult education session during today's sermon. I mentioned Lakota, Holy Man, Black Elk, and today we're going to be looking at some of his recollections of growing up in a Midwestern Native American teepee village in the early 1800s, and learn some interesting things about indigenous life and spirituality. So I hope that you'll join us for that. Together, we have sanctified this space. If you have found strength and comfort here, share some out there. Remember that you are blessed and you are a blessing, and you are not alone. Please join me for the words of extinguishing the chalice that are printed in your leaflet. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
So, I don't feel like doing a solo just yet. And I would like you to turn to page 1, or hymn number 1 again, and we will do the first and third verse again. I think we did it just before Christmas, or anyway, happens to be Teresa and I's favorite song. I don't know about anybody else. Give yourselves a round of applause.